Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sarah's Stitch. So this is episode, I think, 40, and this is my little place here on YouTube where I can talk to all of you about my knits, crochet, all of that good stuff. It's my show and tell because my friends and family will kill me if I keep bothering them about knitting. So thank you so much for being here, and we're going to do a normal podcast today. So finished objects, works in progress. I don't think I have any acquisitions to share. And what other housekeeping? Everything will be linked down below. Any projects, dyers, yarn shops, all of that good stuff is linked down below, as well as my Instagram and Ravelry, jeez. And yeah, I'm sarahs.stitch on Instagram, and I think my Ravelry is SELynch527, but it'll be linked down below. And yeah, if you like this video, and subscribe if you want to subscribe. It helps me get out to more people. There are quite a few new faces here since, I don't know whether it was the works in progress vlogs that brought in a lot of people or it was my Rhinebeck recap, but there are a lot of new faces here. So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Sarah. I am a 29-year-old knitter. I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is right across the river from Manhattan. And I'm an accountant as my day job, and pretty much all other hours I knit when I can. So I think that's all the intro. So let's get started with what I'm wearing, which is the Lento. I knit this 2 years ago maybe, and it's a pattern by Yona Haitala, I think. It's a Lina pattern, and the publisher of Lina, like the person who runs Lina, wrote the pattern. And I knit this out of woolberry fiber. This is really gonna test me. Fingering weight. So the berry sock weight, and the color was Camp Woolberry. And then I held it with a strand of Camarose Monstrala, which is the Surrey with the sparkle in it, in the color light beige, I want to say. Again, it should all be linked down in my Ravelry. But yeah, this is what it is. I know I knit it down one needle size in the recommended needle size, I think, because it was too big of a gauge. And I think this twisted rib isn't called for in the pattern. I added the twisted rib. But other than that, I think I followed the pattern almost exactly. And yeah, today is November 3rd. I'm going to meet my parents in like half an hour to go pick up my Christmas tree. So, but it's cooler today, but not cold, so I figured this would be a good outfit. So I think that's all I have to say on the Lento. Let's get started with finished objects, which there are quite a few today. As I mentioned earlier, if you watched, I did a how many of my whips can I finish in October, last week of October, not even a week, but how many whips can I finish this week of all of my languishing sweaters. 6 videos. They're all posted now, but if you didn't watch that or didn't see it, whatever, I finished quite a few sweaters. So let's get started with those of finished objects. So first finished object is the terrazzo sweater. This is by Petite Knit, and I knit this out of, okay, I will disclaim, most of these still have ends. One of them is currently blocking, so I can't hold it up for you, but they need to be blocked still. So I'm calling that finished because that feels finished to me. But this is the terrazzo sweater by Petite Knit, and flip the turtleneck back so you can see. This is how it's looking. I knit this out of Noro Silk Garden Sock Solo and Isair Silk Mohair in the same colors that Petite Knit did her original sample in. And I love it. I think it's so fun. I know I talked about this when I initially was knitting on this last year. There's one brown stripe, which I think you can tell right here. It's more prominent on this side, I think, but I just love how it's striped up, and like I love the color changes. I think it's such a pretty color combination. There are like pops of neon in it. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, I love it. I think it's gonna block out beautifully, especially because it's the 1-ply Noro, but it is got limited space here for blocking, so I'm starting with the heaviest and working my way down. So this is probably gonna get blocked next. I knit a size medium on the recommended needle sizes. I don't think I made any major modifications to this. The turtleneck did take ages and ages and ages to knit, and that is why it took months for me to finish, because this is all I had left on it when I picked it back up. And so it was just the turtleneck that I had to finish, and it took me about a day and a bit to finish the turtleneck. I finished it over the course of 2 days, but I had been working on another project one of the days. So I think that's it on this. Can't wait to wear it. This feels like it's gonna be a great November knit because it's not too heavy. So if it's like a chillier day but not frigid, feels like this is gonna be such a good knit. So that is my terrazzo sweater. Next we have the sweater number 9 light. This is a pattern by My Favorite Things Knitwear. My Favorite Things, I can't remember. And I knit this out of Woolberry Cashmere DK in the color, sorry, coffee break. This is knit out of the color Alpine, which is from the December Sweater Society box last year. And I knit a size 3 in this. Again, I followed everything to pattern. This is where we're at. Again, we still have ends. And if you want to see all of these tried on, by the way, I tried them all on as I finished them in the vlog series, so go look there. You're probably never going to see them again until I wear them in the podcast because they're not blocked yet, but if I remember in the next episode, I will try and take a video of myself wearing them post blocking as well, just so you can see what they look like. But this is a size 3. I followed everything to pattern. I don't think I made any modifications. Yeah, I did do helical knitting on this for the most part for pretty much everything, just because it's hand dyed and it was speckled. So there's not too much color pooling. I think the only spot that there is some is kind of just in the middle right here. It might come up on camera a bit more. It's not as noticeable in person, but I did notice it when I was trying it on when I finished this. But this is so soft and so cozy. Again, apparently I was just in a turtleneck mood last winter, but I think this was a great pattern for this yarn. It really showcases the speckles. As always, Bethany did an amazing job with the speckles and the color combo, and it's going to be such a good sweater this winter. I have, I think, 3 skeins left over of this, so I may make a Tolster or something out of it. I'm not sure yet, but I do have quite a few skeins left over because I had no idea what sweater I was going to make when I ordered it. I think I ordered 7 skeins of the DK, so 7 or 8. I ordered a lot of skeins of the DK, so I've got quite a few left over. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do with those. I think this would be a really nice color way to use for color work as a contrast color. So I may do that, or like with a navy or something, or like a black. I think that'd be really pretty and the speckles would really pop. Or I may just make a Tolsta or something, but that's a later Sarah problem. That's not a right now problem. Anything else on this? I don't think so. All right, the third sweater is the sweater that is currently blocking. It's very heavy and I don't want to stretch it that much, so I'm going to just talk about it and put a picture up somewhere. This is my mom's, the sweater I knit for my mom, the Billie sweater by Sari Nordlund, which I knit out of heavy merino and from Knitting for Olive and silk mohair, which I believe the silk mohair is from Sandnes Garn, in the cream, not the stark white, but the cream white. And I knit, this is a saga. This was the second iteration of it because it took quite a few attempts to get it going the first time. So this was the second attempt. It was cast on, I think, in 2022. Can't remember when exactly in 2022, but it was cast on in 2022 and hadn't been touched probably for a year and a half because I literally stopped knitting it like mid bind off on a sleeve because that's how frustrated I was with it, I guess is the best way to describe it. But I knit I think I cast on for the size 4, but either my row gauge was very, very off or everything was really off for me. So I cast on for the size 4, did the yoke. It still was very shallow in the armpit, so I just kept on going. And I was newer to knitting then, didn't quite think what still increasing in the body would do to the width of the garment. I just was going because I knew it needed more length and thought it was very wide. The sleeves are also very wide. I think I wound up increasing to a size like 6 total with the amount of length I added in the armpit depth. So that is why I stopped knitting on it, because I just figured it was going to be way too wide for my mom and she would never wear it, and I didn't really want to go back and rip it out or fix it or anything like that. So it sat for years. I picked it up because I don't know why I picked it up, because it wasn't even on my list of languishing items. I literally had written it that far off. But I picked it up. I ripped out the sleeve cuff of the sleeve that I had started binding off because I wanted to decrease it a bit, because the pattern is written for, I don't think there's any sleeve decreases, so the ribbing is quite loose, and I know my mom doesn't love that. Okay. I know my mom doesn't love that. Like, she'd rather a tighter cuff. So I ripped it out, re-knit the ribbing tighter, tried it on. Still wasn't tight enough, but figured let's just finish with the other sleeve. I can do the other sleeve, do that ribbing, and then rip that original sleeve ribbing out again. So I did the whole sleeve, second sleeve. That took about 2 days, probably 2 or 3 days to do that. And then I did the ribbing, didn't count correctly, so essentially did the same ribbing that I had done on the first sleeve. So I had to rip both of them out, decrease them both by another quarter. So I think I decreased every 3 stitches. And then bound off, picked up the neckband, did the neckband, etc. Blocked it. It's currently blocking. I think the sleeves are still too short. So I've talked about this quite a bit, but I think I need to do at least one more repeat on the sleeves from the cable motif to make it long enough for my mom, because right now the sleeves go to about here on me. Well, pre-blocking, the sleeves went to about here on me, and my mom is taller and longer than I am, so I don't think she would want a sweater that's that short in her arms. So I think I'm going to, when it's dry, rip out the cuffs again, knit another round, or knit another repeat of the cable, and then do the ribbing again. I probably am going to do 2 repeats of the cable because I was being lazy, and instead of keeping with the cable and doing the recommended amount of ribbing, I just did like 2 inches of ribbing because I was sick of the cable. But because I have to rip it out anyway, most likely, I probably will add in 2 repeats and then just the 1 inch of ribbing, because there's right now like 1.5 inches, 2 inches, because I was sick of that cable. Even though that cable is not that bad on the sleeves, I just didn't really want a cable anymore. I think that's it for the billie. The other thing that I did change, I knit the ribbing on 3.5mm needles rather than 4mm needles. I think the pattern calls for 4, but I did 3.5. But I think that's it. So that is it for the sweater whips. And then my only other finished object, which I don't think I have any sock blockers, so you'll just have to look at them ugly like this, is I did finish these socks. So last episode I just needed to put a toe on one of them, which I did. So now they're officially finished. It took minimal effort, but these are the Cozy Knitter Advent socks from last year. and they're finished in November. So just in time to get I think my ones for this year are shipping like this week or have already shipped. So these are last year's Advent socks. I just did a vanilla sock with every row that the color changed. I did a knit 3 skip one. So there's little blips of the contrast, or not the contrast, the stripe above comes down into the stripe below. And I did 64 stitches, 9-inch circulars, normal heel flap and gusset, and then I did an umbrella toe for the toe. And yeah, I think that's really it. I did my standard 80-ish rounds on the foot. It's a bit, not harder, but it's a bit more guess and check when it's the Advent skeins, because now it's not so much because I've knit a couple of these ones, but the first year I did these, I kind of had to do the math of where to put the heel in to make it so that the foot was long enough with 24 total colors in it. So, but now I know, and I just go back and look at every year's pictures to see how far do I knit down. I think I do about, I think it's 10 rows of the leg and then 14 in the foot. But these are them. I think that's it on these. And then the only other thing I did this week, but the other thing I worked on substantially, I put a toe on my hibernal socks. So these are the hibernal socks from Summerly Knits, and I'm knitting this out of Wonderland Yarns confetti sock base in the color Mind the Volcano. And I got this at the Boston Fiber Company when I was in Boston a couple weeks ago, and it's so fun. I know I say this every time I show it, but the stellina, and this is gorgeous. The confetti, like the tweed, the multiple colored tweed, also gorgeous, but this amount of stellina in this yarn is unmatched. It's so good. And these are so stretchy. I love them. So I just put the toe in that was in the pattern, so it's kind of a wedge toe, but it doesn't have like the second set of decreases. So it's just what's that called? Even decrease of every other round, and then you just bind off when you get to a certain number of stitches. So the second sock for this has not yet been cast on, but one sock is done. So I think that is it for finished, half finished things. Next, let's go into works in progress, which I only have 2 that I've really worked on, 3 technically, but so the first is my glint sweater, which is the sweater I'm knitting for my dad. It is by, what the heck is the designer's name? To Knit, I want to say, TTO Knit. Maybe it'll be on the screen, but this is it. I'm knitting it out of Sandnes yarn as always, which is my go-to for my dad. And this was not leftover. This was yarn I bought for him for a different sweater, which he's not committed to, so I figured I would use the yarn for something else. It's going to be a surprise for him. I'm knitting the size 2, and I can't remember where this was last time I showed you all, but this is where it's at. So I've gotten both of the motifs of the colorwork are done. I'm hoping this is showing up. I did modify the pattern slightly to start with this motif rather than this motif because I think it's going to need some extra length. It's a unisex pattern, but I think the length from the schematic wasn't going to be quite as long as my dad likes his sweaters to be. So I figured I would just add in an extra motif at the bottom and cross that bridge when I get there. So I will say, I don't know how I feel about the purl bump ridges, or the like reverse stockinette ridges. I'm hoping they block out a bit flatter because I'm not like loving the texture on it, but I think the sweater is going to be a good surprise for him. I think he's not expecting it, which is fun. And it's getting some yarn out of my apartment, which is even more fun. What am I doing? So I knit the ribbing on 3.5mm needles with a and I did a tubular cast on, and then The body is being knit on 4mm needles. Yes, 4mm needles. And yeah, just plugging away at it. I did knit on this a bit this week when I was feeling quite confident in my ability to finish the 3 sweaters. So I think I did majority of this block this week, and then this morning I picked it up and I just was doing this little bit here. I'd like to try and get this finished for him by Thanksgiving, if I can, or at least have it all done by Thanksgiving, and then I can go down, when I go down to my parents for Thanksgiving, I can sew it up and steek it, because this is a steeked armpit sweater, so I can use my mom's sewing machine, which would be ideal. And yes, the yarns I'm using, I will either have them on the screen or I'll have them linked down below, because I don't know all of the colors exactly, but I can tell you the one that's attached right now is merino wool, Santa's garn. Again, it's all Santa's garn yarn. So it's merino wool, and the color is 1042, which I think is just gray heather. This is the same color gray that I knit his Marius out of. And then, okay, then the dark navy is Double Sunday, the petite knit colorway, Sailor in the Night. The charcoaly gray is also merino wool. I don't know the color number, but I believe the name is Smoke. I think it's 1088 or 1058. Those could also both be very wrong. And then the blue is also Double Sunday, and the color is just blue. I can't remember the color number, but I think it's the, I don't know if it's the replacement for like the electric blue, but it's just a standard blue color. And the 3, so the light gray, just gray, Smoke, and Sailor in the Night are the 3 yarns I had in stash for my dad's original sweater. So I just had to get 2 balls of the blue to make this, and I think he's gonna like it. I think it's like close enough to the Scandinavian style that it's going to be something he likes, so hopefully he does. Hopefully it's not too thick. He's been apprehensive, I would say, about DK weight yarn, because I've made him a sweater, well, until I had finished the other sweater. He only had a finger weight sweater, and he loves the weight of that. When I gave him the hand seam, he loves the weight of that, but I think he's more apprehensive to have an all over colorwork sweater, because it's going to be thicker, obviously. So I thought this would be a good kind of intro, since there is so much, it's not fully all over colorwork. There are some like rest rounds of just one strand for, I don't know, half of it's one strand, so, or not double thick, with floats and stuff in the back. So hopefully he likes it. Hopefully he's surprised by it. And yeah, I'm gonna keep plugging away at this. Hopefully it'll be done in 3-ish weeks for him, or as done as it can be in 3-ish weeks, and he can then have to decide if he's taking it to Switzerland or not. And then my only other work in progress that I'm going to show you today is my Christmas sweater. So I don't know if the poll's still live, but when I started the whip challenge, the goal was I wanted to cast on a new sweater for myself, because I wanted some selfish knitting. So I had my options of the balloon sweater, sweater number 23, the Yoon sweater, or this vintage Norwegian pattern. And the people voted mostly for, I think it was like, last I checked, it was like 50% the Norwegian sweater, and then the other 3 were kind of grab bag, mixed bag. So this is a vintage sweater pattern. I got it on Facebook from a Norwegian only speaking Facebook group where people post old patterns that were like in magazines and stuff. So I originally saw the pattern on Instagram. This person posted it, and I was going through the explore page, saw it, loved it, and I want to make a Christmas sweater this year. So this is it. I've modified it slightly, so I am knitting it in pieces and going to steek it and sew it up. But what I have modified is I did a different ribbing on the cuff. So I did corrugated ribbing with a rolled hem. So that is different. I am using Google Translate for the pattern because the pattern is also in Norwegian. And probably because it's in Norwegian, there were some parts that were like, I don't really know what this is saying, so I'm just gonna guess. So I don't think I did the increases as I was supposed to, because Google Translate said to do the increases every 2.5 centimeters or every inch. But that was messing up where all of the motifs were ending. Put it this way so you can see the pretty side. And it was kind of bothering me that the motifs weren't, like, would have been offset, or like it would have been half of a human. So I wound up sticking all the increases that I needed to have a full pattern repeat in the stockinette sections without the color work. So I don't know if that's what I was supposed to do or not, but that's what I did. And what else? I knit the ribbing on a 3.5mm needle. I started doing the color work in a 4mm to about the top of the green, and then realized I don't think I like the thickness of this, and then I did it in a 4.5mm needle. I don't know if I said what I was using to knit this out of, but I'm knitting it out of, so the cream is Peer Gynt Almond, which is the petite knit shade, and then the red is Cascade 220 in the color Ruby, and the green is Cascade 220 in the color Forest Heather, I want to say. So this is what it's looking like. I just have one sleeve done so far because I wanted to kind of do a gauge swatch and see. The other thing I changed is the reindeers on the pattern I did. So the pattern has them all going like follow the later style, like this way, and then this would be the butt and that would be the head. But I saw on Instagram or somewhere that like the reindeers like facing each other, and I thought that was cute. So I flipped the pattern to be the reindeers kissing and then butt to butt, and I added in the little Christmas tree motif to fill in the space in between the two reindeer in the front. So I just added a little Christmas tree. So in hindsight, I probably could have made that green, but I wasn't going to carry one strand of green all the way around the sleeve for a Christmas tree. So this is it. This took honestly, it took a day-ish to knit. I started it Friday. I finished this like yesterday afternoon, but I spent hours umming and ahhing over how to do the reindeer, like charting it out, knitting it. I could not math yesterday to save my life, so I knit like up to here Friday afternoon, and then this took about 4 hours to math out, and then I just did the top part. So I think the next one will go much quicker, and I'm thinking I may modify it slightly for the body, depending on the look of it, of if I want like to modify the reindeer part at all for the body of the sweater, because I don't know how it'll line up for the body, but that'll be a different problem. And the yarn didn't bleed at all for this. I did do like a test the other night to see if the red would bleed at all, because I'm scarred from my mom's stone crop, and it didn't bleed at all, so that is excellent. And yeah, I think I'm gonna film a similar like vlog style video for this, just because it's not a real pattern. Well, it's a real pattern, but it's not an easily accessible pattern nowadays, so it's not like I'm giving any information away or anything like that. And I think it'd be interesting to just like see the process of how to knit a vintage pattern that was originally for fingering weight and DK weight and all of that. So I'm probably gonna do another like vlog style video on this, but obviously this has already been done, so it's gonna be starting with the second sleeve. And I think that's it on this. So that is my full update for this week, and I don't have any new acquisitions. The only acquisitions I had were just the Peer Gynt, which I think I talked about in the last episode. It just hadn't arrived yet. So it arrived on the 30th, which was perfect for my November 1st cast on. And I have no doubt that this is going to be done before Christmas, considering this took one day. So very excited for that. It's going to have a very short useful life of the year, but it's going to be so good. I can't wait to wear it. And I just need to figure out corrugated ribbing if I want to do that at the top too, because it's not very stretchy, but I think I may just do normal ribbing at the top, but that's a later problem. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around with me. Please let me know what you were working on while you were knitting. Please let me know what you were working on while you were watching this, and let me know if you'd like to see the knit vlog of making this sweater. I know a few people have commented that they've enjoyed the vlog style videos and the series for the whips, so that's very encouraging and very sweet. And yeah, I will talk to you hopefully next week. Happy knitting. Bye.